Hey guys, so if you could play standard, what deck seems the most fun for you to play? Maybe you've seen some different decks out there. What would you like to play? And welcome to MTG Tuesdays Tips and Tricks. So we try to help you get better at Magic the Gathering and give you tips and tricks for getting in the game. Last week we started the first in a series of, I don't know how many we're going to go with because it was had a lot of comments, a lot of people asking questions and or making comments. And we're talking about getting into standards. This is getting into standard part 2. And we want people to go into standard. Wizards is doing a lot of things to help standard. They've done it a lot in the past. A lot of people are afraid of standard in the past because it was only every 2 years. So your cards rotated out very quickly. Especially you'd buy the cards, they're expensive, they'd rotate out. Now it's every 3 years, and they're about to drop Foundations, which is a great set that's going to be amazing. And who knows, maybe Wizards will let me get a preview card for Foundations. I'm excited about Foundations. I would love to do a preview card for Foundations because I believe in the foundation of Magic and trying to help people get into the game. And that is going to help. It's going to give you 5 years, at least minimum 5 years, that you'll be able to play those cards from Foundations, which is great. That gives you a lot longer longevity with those cards, knowing that, okay, if I buy these cards or open these cards, they're going to be good for the next 5 years. One of the biggest things people were saying, though, about getting into the format, there were a couple different things, and we're going to discuss different ones of them. But specifically, one of the biggest ones was cost. People like, it's very expensive. I can't play it because of the price, the expense, things like that. Okay, this is if you're playing RCQ, going up to try to get a tournament maybe in a couple months if they're rotating that in where you're trying to get into a top tier tournament, yeah, you might need a meta deck. But you can still surprise people, especially if you're running something off meta. Right now, though, if you're just going to go play like standard, like they're having standard events where you can get like Cowboy Bebop promos. They're having store championships where you can get things like that. You can run any kind of thing you really want to for under $100, under $50, $10, $20. There was a guy at the tournament that basically said he had a $10 deck. Granted, his cards, what was $10 when he put it together. It's a little bit more now, but it was still probably $15, $20. Lands can be expensive, but I can tell you the deck I ran was a Golgari self-milled deck with Insidious Roots, and most of the cards in it were budget, cheap, under $1 cards that you can get for $1, $2 maybe. So my deck might have been, if you don't count the lands, might have been $30, $40 tops. And that's not saying you don't already have a lot of the cards. All the cards were commons, uncommons that are from a lot of different sets. You could get them for very cheap. All the rares were pretty cheap. And then you get a couple of the lands. And the thing about it is you can always put just in basic lands and have no problem. But the lands too are fairly cheap right now as well. So cost should everything. You can run a mono red deck that's like less than $50. We're talking if you're buying every single card for certain cards. There's mono red mice. The other thing is, like, oh, I don't want to play against the meta right now. There is somewhat, I guess, of a meta if you want to play on Arena, but out in the wild is crazy how many different types of decks. We had 11 people at the store championship, and there was not one deck that mimicked each other. Everyone was running different decks. There were a couple Golgari decks. There was 1 or 2 mono red decks. One was mono red, just mice. One was playing Orzhov Bat Life Gain. One person was playing like blue black fairies. One was Dimir Control. There's such a wide variety of stuff, and you can play what you want. You can play rabbits right now. You could play tokens. There's just so much you can play and get into standard right now. Standard right now is in a great place, I believe. Hopefully it'll grow. I think Wizards right now is trying to see if Standard's going to live or not. I really do hope it does live. I have several decks I want to build and play, and I believe our game store is going to start doing Friday nights if we get enough people, where we have people come in and play not only Commander, but we can play Standard as well. And I'm excited because I've got like 3 or 4 decks I want to build, one being Otters, one being Bat Life Game, because I have a lot of the cards, and they're not expensive decks, and I can pull and move around. And I want to build extra decks because if someone shows up and wants to play, I can be like, hey, I've got a Standard deck. Come play with us. Let's have fun. So that's where that is, Standard right now. Let me know your thoughts on Standard again. I want to know your questions, your thoughts, anything, because I want to talk about Standard, help you guys get into Standard. Even if you're like, hey, I want help with the deck, let me know. Send me a message. I would love to look at a deck or help give you some deck lists and some ideas like that. But Standard right now is in a great place, I believe, and I want to help people get into Standard. The meta is so diverse. You can play all kinds of decks and do decent. You could even win. I think the guy with the black-white life gain deck ended up getting, at least he was not top. I don't know who won. I had to leave before, but he was in top 2. that's not even like a meta deck that he had. He had this his own little build that he built. My deck did its own thing. It wasn't as good because it just didn't fire, but it was a good deck. When it went off and it stopped and did what it's supposed to do. Every deck is its own. I want to build, is it otters with prowess and stuff like that, and that's not a super expensive deck. You can build it differently too because you can get cheaper cards and stuff. So don't let the cost be the thing that's stopping you right now. Go look at what you have. Go look at the cards you have and see what you can get and everything, and then just get them together and put them together. And if you're like, hey, I really just don't have a lot of money, talk to me. We'll see what we can do. Maybe I can put you together a budget deck list, or even stuff that I might even have extra of the cards for to put together for you to help you get there, get you a chunk of the cards for a very reasonable price. Let me know. I have a lot of bulk cards and stuff like that I'm trying to get rid of and or help people with, and or some of them selling, stuff like that, but I would love to help people get their decks and get going. So know in the comments below your thoughts on standard, questions you have about standard, and we're going to continue this. Probably I have a couple more things that people mentioned, but I want to thank you guys so much for your last comments, and hopefully you guys watch this video all the way to the end. Don't forget the giveaway. It is almost time for the giveaway to be over, to win a deck box and some cards and a mystery booster pack and all these cool things. So don't miss out on that. Thank you guys so much for being here, and as always, we'll see you next time.